video coming for y'all. We got a little breakdown we doing of Steve Fox right here. So we're doing a Steve Fox breakdown of all his moves that are useful, his stances, his overall game plan. And then in the future, I plan on coming out with a video on each of his stances and his offense. I know a lot of people are coming into Tekken 8 because of the very cinematic story and presentation and from the hype of 7. So I wanted to give a little guide for Steve because he did get a little bit more complex than he has been in previous iterations of the game. But this should be a good entry point for anybody just coming into Tekken and picking up Steve for the first time. Just to give a little bit of history, Steve is a boxer character that was introduced back in Tekken 4. He has almost no kick options except for, you know, up forward 4 and maybe like a get up kick. He has no kick options. All of his kick options, as in 3 and 4 or X and circle if you're playing on PlayStation, typically lead to one of his 8 stances. And yes, I did say 8 stances. Steve is a very stance heavy character, but the way that I'm going to break it down, I'm going to make it extremely easy. I'm going to give you a bird's eye view and also plan on releasing a video for each stance that he has. So yes, he has no kick options, which theoretically would limit his range options as he's only limited to the range of his arm. However, in order to compensate that, he kicks the earth itself and does a lot of his most infamous stances. He has albatross, he has flicker, he has all that. We're gonna go into it. He can duck, he can weave. He has his new LionHEART stance here. Look at that. He has a little footwork, flashy step back, but unfortunately you can't crouch guard, but we'll get into that later. It's a controversial stance for sure, this new stance that he has, but I don't believe it's anything we have to fear. The game plan around Steve, as in the main game plan, the thing you want to be aiming for whenever you enter a match with this character, is counter hitting. He is a counter punch paragon is his epithet. So with that, Steve is equipped with a variety of moves and stances that can be delayed in order to open the opponent up for counter hit opportunities due to the deceptive speed and delayability that they have to each move. For example, we have like 2, or rather 2. You can just do it quick. You can do it much slower. Same thing with a couple of other strings that he has. Very delayable. Go back 1, down 2, 1. You can delay that a lot. You can delay while standing 1, 2. There's a lot of delayable moves that would leave your opponent to think that you're open for a counter hit. Throughout the video, I'm going to be referring to stances and moves with what are known as TEKKEN Notation. And if you don't know what that means, that 1 represents left punch, 2 represents right punch, 3 represents left kick, and 4, the number 4 represents right stance. So I'll go over that again. So 1 represents his left punch, this right here. 2 represents right punch, this punch. Left kick is 3, and right kick is 4, which goes into right weave stance. Just wanted to give that preface for anybody that's entirely new to the series and has no idea what notations are. So I'm know what the fuck I'm talking about. Steve, like I mentioned earlier, has a total of 8 stances, which may seem intimidating at first, especially for a beginner. But like I said, the way we're gonna break it down is to give a dedicated video for each. However, it will be essential to at least understand what these stances do. Covering LionHEART Stance 2.0 as a patch 105 in Tekken 8. Let's go.
Come closer.
Like it!
LionHEART Stance, aka Outfox, was inspired by Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali would use this sort of rope-a-dope stance in order to lure his opponent into a false sense of security, as Muhammad Ali, when he did this, would lower his 2 guard hands and he would be vulnerable to attack. So this would goad the opponent into counter-punching, where he would then cross-counter with his agility. What the Ali Shuffle brings to Steve's toolkit is it allows Steve to play the outboxer role in a boxing match. There's different roles of boxing. There's the brawler or the infighter. There's a couple of good brawlers right here, and then there's the outboxers. There's inboxing and outboxing. And outboxing is playing outside of your opponent's range, hitting where you cannot be hit, but your range can hit, causing the opponent to overextend, where you can then proceed in a counter hit launch or a counter hit knockout. What Steve can do is he can bait out attacks in the fast break, bait out armor moves after plus frames, and he can proceed with a cross counter combo. Alright, how do we get into LionHEART stance? We have our one tap, aka the fastest way to get into it, which is up back 3. The manual LionHEART stance transition, named Outfox. This is about a 1 range step back. Right now we're at range 2. It brings us back a full number range, or a range number. So from range 2 it'll go to range 3. From range 3 it'll go to range 4, as you can see in the bottom left hand corner. We have our one tap, up back 2. That gets us in the LionHEART stance. This is a very strong way to enter the stance. Up back 2 is very strong. It's a new addition to Tekken 8. As you can see, it's +3 guard as it transitions into LionHEART stance. We can choose to not transfer into LionHEART stance and hold back to cancel the LionHEART stance transition. This was something that was originally in Tekken 8 Vanilla, and we can also be +3 on neutral hit. This allows us to access a variety of frame traps. I'll show one right here as an example. We're gonna have Jin block, fastest move that he can do, which would be a jab. So we're gonna do up back 2, and he's gonna jab. Now the frame trap, up back 2, and then do back 1, and look at that, it trades. Keep that. This is because it is a calculated frame trap, as in Steve will win this exchange every single time, as it is mathematically perfect. We are doing up back 2, which leaves us at +3, and we're following it up with back 1, which is 13 frames, thus leaving us 3 frames, or shaving 3 frames off of our follow-up back 1, thus trading with the jab, giving us the greatest GameStop trade since 2021. Very good way to enter stance, and a very good move. Next way to enter stance is going to be back 1, 2. Adds back 1 and combines it with the up back 2, and has the same frames on block. It puts it in LionHEART stance at +3. However, as of patch 105, this move has been affected in that you can now cancel the LionHEART stance instead of being forced into it. Prior to patch 105, whenever you did back 1, 2, you were forced to go into this stance. Granted, you are +3 in this stance. However, you had no other options. But now we can hold the back button and cancel the stance. That's how we'll be canceling all of our LionHEART stance transitions that we'll be going over. It will be canceled by holding the back button, similar to flicker stance, the video we just did. We also have down back 3, 2, a very strong stance transition. Yet another move. It was actually affected by both patches, patch 104 and 105. In patch 104, this move was altered to add an additional frame of advantage to the foot stomp. So as you can see in the left hand corner, this move is now +8.
No more playing around.
If you recall our LionHEART 1.0 video, that stance when we did foot stomp put us at +7. Now that it's +8, we have a wide variety of options now open to us. I'll go over just a fraction of them here, but I really want to save them for later. One thing we can do now that we gained that additional frame, we gained the ability to defeat power crushes. Because prior to patch 104, LionHEART transitions were really unable to handle armor. Armor was the answer against LionHEART stance. I'll show you what I mean here. Whenever we did the LionHEART stance transition, they would be able to do armor and just eat it up. And it would eat up all of our options, no matter what we did. It was darkness. I can roll some footage of that. But the point is, in patch 104, we gained an additional frame, so now it's +8. So we gained our first way to counteract this armor epidemic, because Foot Stomp is supposed to be an unseeable low for Steve that allows him to gain better access to the low-mid mix-up, because Steve's not originally good at that mix-up just in neutral stance. He's not the strongest. There's other characters that have way better mix game than Steve's neutral. However, when we get the opponent in close quarters, we gain access to a very fast low that we would deem unseeable, as it's below 21 frames and the human eye is unable to send the signal to the nervous system for your hands to react fast enough for you to see this move coming. So you'd sort of have to flow state duck it, if you know what I mean. We'll go over more about those deeper nuances in our advanced Steve guide. That was kind of like a sneak peek for you. But yes, in patch 104, since they added a frame addition to that, if we did the LionHEART 1 fast enough, because of that 1 frame change, you may think it's not a lot, but if we did LionHEART 1 immediately after Foot Stomp, we could then outpace Power Crush. So before, when it was +7, that would be the result. We would get armored and taken over. But as of patch 104, we could defeat Power Crush. We got our first attack against the Titan that is armored moves in this game. And then as of patch 105, we gain another buff to Foot Stomp transition, as in this move is now cancelable by holding the back button. So by doing down back 3-2, we are able to hold the back button and shave just a few frames off. So Foot Stomp with LionHEART transition is +8 on hit, and if we cancel it, it's +4, which is great if we have the opponent at the wall, because this allows us to access very fast, rapid Foot Stomps that the opponent can't even react to. The armor can't actuate fast enough. Beautiful thing. Before, when we had LionHEART transition, we did not get that kind of mix. This is absolutely incredible for Steve's gameplay. I cannot stress this. Moving on. Up forward 3-2 got the same treatment. It has the same exact frames as down back 3-2, but I just wanted to mention it. This is a low crush way to apply pressure. If you need access to a tricky low that can potentially end the round that your opponent hasn't seen yet. Let's go over the 2-2 series. Forward 2-2. It's +11 on hit. That is the max amount of plus frames that we enter LionHEART stance in naturally, on hit or on block. Little fun fact for you. This move hits natural and very delayable. As you can see, you can delay this move quite a bit. This move catches a lot of people off guard. This move is -6 on block, and it does put us in a vulnerable stance. However, we can cancel it, but when we do cancel it, it is -10, so you will be eating that flash punch combo from Kazuya. So yes, the delay ability is great to mix up with forward 2-1. So this makes this series actually more threatening, as it now has a mix-up. So if your opponent, before, when they saw this forward 2 coming, a lot of veteran players are pre-programmed to duck this, because this is considered mid-level Steve stuff is doing forward 2-1, because it is delayable, but it's a mid-high and it's duckable, and therefore you can be launch punted. Or you could. As of Tekken 8, when they changed this move, forward 2-2 is a new string that was added in T8. Extremely delayable, though its frames are pretty bad. It is very good for sneaking a hit on a veteran or two, as the timing can be extremely deceptive. Same thing for while standing 2-2. This is another one that goes into 11 frames. This is kind of the same ender. Very delayable. It's +7 when we cancel it on hit. Whenever we do it on block, it's -10 when we cancel it. -6 whenever we're going to LionHEART, but we are vulnerable, and as you know, we don't have any armor attack out of LionHEART, so unless you swaying or ducking, you should watch out. Whenever you're in LionHEART stance, you have access to your base stances, and what I mean by base stances is this. The base 3, we can left weave out of it, we can right weave out of it, which is 3 and 4 respectively. We can back 3/back 4, which is sway out of it. We can duck into it, which is a popular thing if you're trying to play footsie neutral and you don't know what your opponent's going to do. It can sort of have like a bait outboxing strategy. Call it the outbox shuffle or the outfox shuffle. Let's go over the rest of our options. Final stance transition, which is the bee sting combo or left weave 1-2. This has also been affected, as well as right weave 1-2. Let's go over them both at the same time. Left weave 1-2 is cancelable. On block, bee sting combo left weave 1-2 is +3 on block, as it has the frame of his up back 2 with +3 on block here, and it puts us in line start stance. If we choose to cancel this mid-high combination, we'll be at -1. Not bad at all. It allows us plenty of free frames to step. All right, let's go over the options. Now that we went over the concept of the stance cancel and how it shaves 4 frames off of every transition on block and on hit, now we're gonna move on to the section of the video where we talk about the moves themselves. The first one we have, there's not a whole lot of them, LionHEART 1. This move was actually affected by patch 105. This move was recently buffed, and that 5 frames were shaved off of its recovery. If you notice in the bottom left hand corner, it says that the move is -4 on block. Prior to patch 105, this move was -9 on block, meaning that your turn was over. So if you're a newer player and you do a move that is -9 on block, what this means is that it is not jab punishable, as in your opponent cannot do an attack that punishes you for it unless you're somehow in the range of Yoshi's Flash or something. There's no move that can punish you at -9. But what that does mean is that you cannot continue your offense and be mathematically sound, if that makes any sense. To further iterate, if you decide to attack at -9, it will have 9 frames added on to whatever you do. So if you were to do a jab, a simple jab at -9, that jab would come out in 19 frames, and your opponent could literally go make a sandwich and have enough time to beat you with a launch or an armor or what have you, and thus take your turn back anyway. So now at -4, this heat engager move, by the way, this move that activates heat and gives us a heat dash and all that, is now -4 and tracking. So it's been tracking, but the fact that it's -4 gives us a lot more defensive options. So while you more than likely won't be attacking after it, as it's pretty clear that Steve's turn is over after this, what you can do is now you have the frames free to perhaps do some evasive movement, which also got buffed across the board. So we can do LionHEART 1 and then duck if we know the opponent's gonna do a high attack, if we know for a fact. We can do LionHEART 1 and sidestep if we know an attack's coming. We can do LionHEART 1 and sidewalk. We can do LionHEART 1 and backdash. We can do LionHEART 1 into another LionHEART, perhaps goading or baiting out a flash or some other kind of quick attack that is short range. The options are endless, or the options are quite favorable, I should say. This move definitely received a huge buff, very good at the wall. You would use it ideally like a check option when you need those fast frames. This move is 14 frames. 14 frame startup, very fast, the fastest option out of LionHEART. Alright, going to LionHEART 2, aka Bloodhound. This is a very strong move and one of the most used moves that we got in LionHEART. This move gives us a legitimate backswing blow added to Steve's arsenal that launches. Prior to Tekken 8, Steve did not have a move that leaned back and launched you. We had a black swing blow out of PEEKABOO and PEEKABOO Back 2, but it did not launch you. We had various cheeky ways to launch you. Instant PEEKABOO up forward 2, which is our Omni Crush. But now in Tekken 8, we had a legit backswing blow added to our arsenal. Very useful for baiting out the opponent and giving us a launch. This is a very welcomed addition to Steve's arsenal in T8. Grants us a combo. Granted, it's not a full launcher. This move will tornado. So this is what I would classify as a tornado launcher. So this move will put them in screw state. So this is very good for baiting out attacks. It can be more difficult, I'll say, up in the upper ranks like Tekken King, when opponents are playing a lot more tight, like they're doing a lot more mathematically sound small Tekken, like down forward 1, 2, 1, like simple lows. It can be difficult to get a large enough gap for this to be effective, in which you'd want to change your strategy into more like instant pad blow, you know, an instant quick small Tekken style of approach. But if your opponent is throwing out punishable attacks or launchers, you can bait it out without Fox and then punish them with a launcher. You can punish them pretty effectively, as well as push them to the wall where Steve can push his agenda. This move is 16 frames on block, minus 13. So if you eat a punish, it won't kill you. You will eat a damaging punish. You'll probably at the most get knocked over. So it's very much worth the risk to use. I'll give an example of a combo that you should use in LionHEART. There are plenty of strings or plenty of combo routes, and my routes have definitely changed throughout these patches, but here's the one I'm currently using. $64 damage. $81 damage. That's just a sample. There are plenty of combo routes. That's just one of the ones that I use because of its combo and branching ways that I can mix you up. I'll show one of them here. I'm not going to show all of them because I want to show all my secrets. Actually, yes, I do. Like, I can do something like this, where I can mix you up and have you think I messed up. I can intentionally whiff an up back 2, and I can use one of the follow-ups on opponents that are whiffing attacks, thinking it's time to take their turn back when Steve is not finished. Swing Fire Advance. This is the unique move of LionHEART Stance. This move is a new and improved 18 frames on startup compared to the 20 to 21 frames of startup that it had at the launch of Vanilla Tekken. This move has been greatly improved in a variety of ways as of patch 104. As of 104, this move got faster. Went from 21 frames to 18 frames on startup. As you see here, 18 to 19 frames. So it got 2 frames shaved off of its startup, making it a lot faster and a lot more unseeable for players to react to when it came time to dealing with the Ali Shuffle. But then in patch 105, Namco decided to bless us again. And then they buffed this move not with 1 but 2 new additions to the move. As of patch 105, a new hit property was added to Tekken 8 called Reversal Break. Harada thought that armor in Tekken 8 was too strong, and I'd have to be inclined to agree. So as of patch 105, their goal was to create a reversal, so to speak, to make armoring less easily accessible and less of the stronger option in most scenarios. So every single character in the game got what's known as a reversal break effect that will shatter the opponent's armor should they choose to armor while you do the reversal break attack. I'll give an example of this. I'll do Foot Stomp and Jin will do his Power Crush. So if I choose to do Swing Fire, you'll notice that it shatters armor now. So not only does it shatter armor, it also launches. Not only does it shatter armor and launch, it also adds chip damage on block. As you saw, whenever we use this move on a blocking opponent, it will break their guard. It will break their guard and leave us at plus 12, leaving us some guaranteed damage on the table. This move just used to be able to do guaranteed damage up to 12 frames, so for us this would mean doing 2-1 or 2-2 for max damage at 19 damage. As of patch 105, they decided this wasn't enough, and we got LionHEART 1+2 added chip damage. So now when we get our guaranteed damage, it's a little bit more off the top. You see, this is a great change. 2-1 back or 2-1 forward for mix-up opportunity. So yeah, in patch 104, this is 18 frames and became a launcher. And in patch 105, it gained chip damage and became a reversal break effect. We'll go over an example of a sample combo to use for your LionHEART 1+2. That's the wall carry. As if you want to spend a little heat. Very solid move. Great on block. Great on hit. This move is amazing. And it only got better. In conclusion, prior to patch 104, LionHEART was something that Steve players avoided like the plague. LionHEART stance was a detriment to Steve as a character, according to the opinions of various Steve players. It wasn't that the options weren't good, it's the fact that the stance was forced on you with no way to cancel or defend yourself if you decided to use a move that went into it. Foot stomp was a mix-up for you as much as it was for the opponent prior to patch 104. You would do moves to actively avoid being in LionHEART stance at inconvenient times. This playstyle was very unattractive for a lot of Steve players, and they dropped the character, and the use data went down quite a bit for this character in Tekken 8 as opposed to his Tekken 7 numbers. Steve is a very popular character, but his usage dropped because it became too demanding to have to know which moves went into LionHEART so that you could actively avoid using them at inconvenient times when the stance should be a boon to us. It became a hindrance. So it went from being a bust to a boon. I gotta say that this move has gotten incredible changes, more than worthy of having the 2.0 title added onto it. LionHEART is now great in Tekken 8. It's what I would call a complete stance. We have a quick checking option that is very fast mid. So we have a tracking option for opponents trying to step us. We have a launcher out of it. We have a unique property not granted to other characters, and that we have an unblockable attack outside of heat. It's increased Steve's player expression almost exponentially, I gotta say. There's so many moves that you can choose to cancel at various points that you can create a microcosm of mix-ups for your opponent that it will be almost impossible for them to keep up with, and that's before going into instant stance transitions. Steve is a great character now. Steve, welcome to Tekken 8. Prior to patch 104, Steve was a Tekken 7 character, fighting in a realm of Tekken 8 characters. And then as of patch 104, we gained the weapons and tools to defeat Tekken 8 characters. Options that can defeat armor, which is our plus frames on foot stomp, our +8 frame recovery change, allowed us to compete with armor moves and be a competitor in Tekken 8. And then as of patch 105, I'm proud to say that we are now officially a Tekken 8 character, boys. Everything is a go. Our moves are cancelable. No, we're not a perfect character. We don't have a low out of LionHEART. We don't have an armor move out of LionHEART. But LionHEART has gotten so strong over these past 2 patches, especially in Heat, that it more than makes up for it. This move and this stance is fantastic. I'm absolutely proud to have it in the game. Outfox is amazing. Something that you'll see almost every Steve Fox using now, optionally and willfully, and most importantly, not forcefully. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you so much for watching our LionHEART 2.0 video. This will conclude our beginner stance guide for Steve Fox, where we did a deep dive on all of these stances that Steve has. We're now complete. So now we're gonna go into our advanced Steve series. All right, how we doing, everybody? Welcome to part 3 of our boxing breakdown series of Steve Fox, going over the sway stance and the weaves as well. Let's get to it. I'm gonna give what the purpose of these stances are, why we use them, why would you want to sway, why would you want to use a weave in combat. I'll show some clips. Sways, like in our LionHEART video, is inspired by Muhammad Ali and his no guard style, with no hands, completely abandon guard and move his head back for the sake of evading punches, and then he will respond back in tow with a counter punch to the now open opponent trying to take advantage of your open guard. We'll go over the weaves. Weaves are technically called ducking left and ducking right. Look at the movements. Everybody calls them weaves, but technically if you were to pull them up on the list, and I realize this may be confusing for new players of Steve, if you were to look in the move list for a weave, you wouldn't find it. You'd find ducking left and you'd find ducking right. And I'm so glad in Tekken 8 they included like some footnotes on the moves when you hover over it. Like it says shift to ducking left, hold 3 or hold the left, which is how you duck left. And then you can sway from it, you can duck from it, and you can duck right. So what they mean is if I press and hold 3, I will left weave, and then from there if I hold 3 and then press back from there, as you can see in my input history, it's looking like I'm inputting 3 times, but I'm not. I'm really just holding it that first press, and then on the second press when I press back it registers that, and then because I'm holding 3 still, it's registering it going back to neutral, which counts as it going 3 times. You can also combine it with ducking left, sort of create this kind of defense. Nobody really does this. The purpose of the sway and the weave, both of them, or all 3 of them technically, are to cause an opponent to whiff an anticipated move and provide some type of response to that whiffed move. You will use it to weave, ideally to the same side of your opponent of the move that you anticipate, which may sound a bit strange, so I'll show that in an example here. I'm gonna go to how wrong. I'm gonna have him do this move over and over again. This series of high, 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 but it being +2 on that high. So if I were to block this and just take like a rock-like stance and just hold back, and then I were to respond with jab, if this were perfect, I would get beat out every time. If I use left weave and sways, we can use sway to evade the high moves that are incoming, and then even provide a way to get back on offense, like so. We'd even get a guarantee if we use sway 1. But then once you get really good, you can start to see series. What I call high series is really where sway starts to shine. If you know that a high series is coming in, you can do something like this. When a high series is coming, we can utilize our sway in order to provide a counter hit or provide a move out of sway called Snake Charmer that can provide us with a high damaging launcher for a crazy read of a high. Typically, we use sway to evade high attacks that lag, or a high attack series of 2 or more high attacks in a row, making it very effective against other Steve players in mirror matches. So if your opponent was doing a lot of 1-2 jabs, this would start to look more attractive. Whereas if they were just going with 1 jab or a right kick and it was just 1, you may be more attracted to just duck it out like this. But if you're using sway for the sake of evasion or for the sake of wanting to land the sway too, you would ideally wait for a series or a lagging high. Our options out of sway, gonna go over them here. We have 3 of them. Technically we have 4 plus, but I'll go over them all right here. We have sway 1, a clobbering overhead mid that now provides plus 14 on hit, which allows for a free 14 frame or quicker follow-up to that hit. So if we do sway 1 and down forward 1-2, you notice that it combo right there. We do sway 1 and then do Sonic Fang, it combos and it goes into a heat engager. So on hit, it is extremely good. If you evade a quick high and slam them, sometimes it's good to just throw this out. I'll throw this out at the wall sometimes. If I was at the wall, now we're issuing my pressure and now we're mixing up rocket launchers here, I could sway and then do either sway 1, the overhead, or I could do sway 1 plus 2, the push, and I could sort of mix up my offense. We're sort of skipping around with options here. We went into sway 1, the overhead, now we're kind of going into sway 1 plus 2, the position grab. So if the opponent is at the wall, I can use sway 1 plus 2 and push them up against the wall and get a guaranteed combo. But you know what? Let's go over that later. Sway 2, Snake Charmer. It is a very risky read type of move. Will completely have Steve go almost 90 degrees, pretty much like 80, 75 degrees to the ground, and do a right punch upwards that if it connects with the opponent will instantly put them into a launch state where we can get a ton of damage. So an example. Look at that, 100 damage. You can get a lot of damage. Wow, out of that. Incredible damage if you can get a proper Snake Charmer read. But it's really effective, I'd say, in the actual Steve mirror match or against people that are very addicted to highs. This is a way to get them vulnerable, and it is a viable strategy. You'll know some high-level Steves usually tend to avoid this move unless they're trolling, but it's a very viable move to bust out in high level if somebody is abusing highs, usually with discretion. Let's go into my favorite move out of sway. One of the main reasons I play Steve, I'll be completely honest, is for the sway grab, aka the sway 1 plus 2. I'll put that on the screen there. Sway 1 plus 2, when you sway and you hit 1 plus 2 neutrally, you will push the opponent. This is a 1 plus 2 break as well, so if you're countering Steve, you'll press 1 plus 2 if you see this grab coming. You do sway 1 plus 2 and then hold the other direction. You can actually do a position change grab similar to Tekken 4, where everybody kind of had this position change grab. Only select few characters actually got to keep it. Some got a more stylized position change, and Steve kind of gets this one, which is great. This is one of Steve's best assets that I don't see a whole lot of Steve players talking about. Positions change grab is fantastic for sneaking in some very nice damage and also providing a mix-up at the wall, further leaning into Steve's strength of his wall 50-50 game being one of his benefits. So I'll give another example. If we have the opponent against the wall here, let's say we did a huge wall carry, we got the opponent at the wall, and now they have to play ball with us. They have to play our wall 50-50 game. They have to go over the roulette. So we can mix up our options We have some very strong options at the wall. We have rocket launcher, quarter circle forward 1, launch them into the wall and get a pretty huge wall combo. That's 1. We have a low, we have our foot stomp that we can mix up, 16 frames, and we have this position change grab, a very quick high that when pushing an opponent against the wall gains a special property. Actually, if you didn't know, when you push the opponent up against the wall, you will get a decent chunk of damage. You will get 3 damage exactly, as you see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. However, it would also, even though it doesn't say it on the frame advantage screen, which may be an oversight by Bandai Namco if you see this, we actually put the opponent in a state where we can get guaranteed damage. If you notice, we just did Steve's 1-1-2, which is 3 hits. We pushed him up against the wall, do 1-1-2. Now it's 4 hits, and it's doing 30 damage. So it added the 3. So really, what this is it puts the opponent in a approximately a +10 state when you push them straight into the wall. When you push the opponent straight into the wall with sway 1+2, it will be +10, or you will be +10, and you can choose to mount an offense out like so. You can do 1-1-2. Now he's continuing Steve's fantastic wall 50-50 and why Steve is one of the greatest characters in the game. From 1-1-2, you can use ducking. You can use 1-1-2 and you can use weave. You can do 1-1-2 and you can do sway. So literally after you do this wall push 1-1-2, continue your offense. You can push 1-1-2, do Punisher. You can do push 1-1-2 and then sway 1, which is really what I want to get to, this sway 1 option. You can do sway again, push them up against the wall, do another 1-1-2. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. But let's say the opponent learns after this, which typically they do after the second time they get hit with it, unless they're high level. The high levels may break this first try, or if they don't, you usually after the second get a push. You do 1-1-2, do sway, do 1-1-2. Usually after the second 1-1-2 series, I'll gauge what the opponent does after I sway. So if I sway and I notice that they're trying to duck my 1+2 grab, actually I kind of want to go over how quick the grab break is. I think the grab is a 10 frame grab. Look at that. This is a 10 frame grab, PEEKABOO 1+2. I wanted to put that in there also. But yes, we push them into the wall. We see what they do. We sway. We can do sway 1 if they're ducking, and if they're not ducking, we go into sway 1+2. And these will provide some pretty strong offense options that can very quickly change the shift of a battle for your opponent that is stuck at the wall and dealing with a barrage of pressure options and getting their health slowly chipped away without traditional combos hardly being used. Another thing I want to go over sway 1+2 is that it's just only when you push them back at the wall that we get this 10 frame. When we push them at the side of the wall, which I want to see if I can get a good example. When we push the opponent 90 degrees or more to a wall, this actually gains more plus advantage when we do that. We gain plus advantage. See that combo? Look at that. We gain plus frames of 12 or more. Let me actually check if it's 13. Yes, 13. Wait, no, 14. Okay, I did not know that. Okay. All right, so you notice we push them up against the wall, we do Sonic Fang, and we get a 3-hit combo. That means the wall push is 14 frames or more. Wait, it's 15 frames? Excuse me? When did this happen? Let's see. 16 frames. Yo, I'm glad I labbed this. I thought we just got 13 frames when we did 180, but after looking at this and labbing it, we actually get 16 frames. So I'll go over them quickly right now. So I'll flash the numbers above screen. So we do 180, we get our 112. That's 10 frames. We do 180, we do 2-2. That's 12 frames. We do 180, we do back 1-2. That's 13 frames. We do sway, we do sonic fang. That's 14 frames. Combo. Look at that, that's 42. So that's 15 frames. Combo. This way we do rocket launcher. That combo. "17 frames. So we do sway and we get body blow into this? That's real? Whoa, we get 51 damage, chat. Look at that. Impressive. I did not know this prior to recording. That is incredible. I did not know this. I need to practice this thing. So that's awesome. So that's sway in a nutshell. Everything I wanted to go over sway. We got the sway 1. That is plus 14 with sonic fang, or 1 plus 2. So that's sway 1. 1 plus 2 for the sonic fang input. We have snake charmer, or sway 2, for when the opponent does a high series of 2 or more, or does a lagging high, and you get the read up to 100 damage at the wall. It's pretty insane. Definitely use it if you catch your opponent using plenty of highs. This will be very valuable in your arsenal in the Steve mirror match. I assure you, you will be using sway or to a decent extent, as most of Steve's best options are from his eyes. Let's go into weaves. Weaves can link into duck stance if you hold the 3 button and then press forward. Also link it to sway. But once you link the weave into ducking, a very important note is that you surrender your ability to duck cancel from it. I'll do a weave and then I'll do a duck if I saw that they whip something big, and I'll go for a skyscraper. I call this hunting for the skyscraper. So I'm like out here, I'll look, so I'll dodge something up close, maybe go for a body blow. But if I notice they whip something big, I'll do it, notice, delay, and then I'll continue and get a combo here. It's because normally if you duck, you can hold down back and you can sort of get like this ducking pressure, like a wave dash. But once you do it from a weave, you notice you don't get that anymore. Even if I hold down back, I don't get the block anymore. So I have to commit with an option, like going for the skyscraper, or going for the fox hunt, or going for the punisher, or even going for the ducking if I notice that they're idle. Well, I probably should play some warm-up matches before I did this, so I'd be hot and limber. But anyway, left weave options. We have double stinger, left weave 1-1. This is a very good option at the wall. We'll mainly be using left weave to provide some type of offense option. Usually when you go into left weave, it's either as an ender to a combo, or it's usually done to press an offense. As you can see here, we have some options that can push the opponent up against the wall or provide more pressure. Left weave 1-1, very good, especially at the wall. If you catch somebody trying to jab out of pressure, it's also a good wall ender, where you can get somebody at the wall. You can do left weave 1-1, and then immediately do sonic fang 1 plus 2. So it's a good ender at the wall. So it's good at wall splatting when you catch somebody trying to jab out of pressure. When you have them at the wall, yeah, you catch somebody jabbing at the wall, you can catch them over here and do a ton of damage with that wall launching or wall splatting left weave 1-1. Left weave 1 back when input also can go into flicker stance if you hold back. So if you do left weave 1 and then hold the back button, you will transition into flicker. This can be done if you want to check your opponent at the wall. Usually if you anticipate a left kick or a left punch option coming from your opponent, or a move that is weak to sidestep left, and you can use this move to sort of check and get in position and be safe in it, because as we know, Flicker is safe against high and mid-level moves in this game. B Sting combo. This is a new combo added to Tekken 8. Left weave 1-2 will now go into a new combo called B Sting, and it will throw you into LionHEART stance. It says shift in the LionHEART stance there. So we will be using this primarily as a combo ender, I'll admit. So I'll show an example of that. I'm gonna do a combo like this. You can do left weave 1-2, then finish with LionHEART 2. We have left weave 1-2-1. This is a special move that is not B Sting combo, but it's cancelable from B Sting combo. So if we do left weave 1-2-1, instead of this tracking high that comes out from the B Sting combo that we get, we can cancel the high into this body blow that is very, very rewarding on counter hit. So you can use this in neutral for that reason. Trick your opponent, because it's a pretty big step forward. So the initial hit of left weave 1 is pretty short, which is why you wouldn't use it in neutral. But look at this. Look at how far we just stepped forward. That's incredible. I feel like this is a move that actually could be utilized in high-level Tekken, where we're sort of out here in range 3, and we sort of take this big step forward in the neutral because the opponent thought we pressed the button, and then we get fuck all damage. Like, look at that. That's incredible. Centurion Rush, left weave 1 forward 1-1. This move is very good at the wall for providing pressure. I do like this string a lot, so it's a mid-high string that is transferable into our very beloved Flicker stance. This is a very decent move using it at the wall, keeping the opponent here, because another use for the weaves is for positioning and keeping them at the wall. You use right weave if they're trying to slowly inch right and provide some type of bump or some type of check to get them back. And you can also use left weave to sort of position them there. That's kind of like their hidden use. But back to Centurion Rush, very good string. You can stop it at left weave 1 forward 1 and have some pretty decent advantage on hit. It's +3. You can finish it out and be +4 on block if your opponent doesn't duck it, because it's pretty fast. At high level, they will duck this. So you may just want to stop at the left weave 1 forward, right shoulder to billy club, or left weave 2-1. This is another position move. We would mainly use this at the wall. The opponent's trying to escape wall pressure, and we don't want to use a left weave 1 into Flicker for some reason, or Centurion Rush. We can hit them with a bump. Also playing into Steve's counter hit arsenal is the delayability of this move. Just like left weave 1 forward 1-1, move is very delayable. So you can do moves very delayed and sort of catch your opponent thinking that they can hit, and you'll get a counter hit from the delay. The same thing with billy club. You can delay 2 and do 1 very late and get a potential counter hit. So you can do boom, wait a minute, boom. And it's -8 on block, as you can see in the bottom left hand corner. Kind of feels like it should be plus with this, but it's -8, so you're giving up your turn, but you can really use it as an opportunity to see what your opponent does. But on counter hit, this move will actually drop the opponent face down, feet back, which is a very favorable Okazeme position for Steve. If they get up wrong, you can potentially get a counter hit back too, which can lead into a 1+2, guaranteed. So boom, they get up wrong, and then you get that. And even if they roll, you can follow them up with a down back 2. Or you can follow them up with a down 1+2. All guaranteed. It's very, very good. Move can also transition into PEEKABOO, very strong stance. By holding forward after the left weave 2, we can go into PEEKABOO, where we gain access into our best tools for pressure. PEEKABOO is our pressure tool. We'll be going into that later this month. Do PEEKABOO 2 forward, and now we're in PEEKABOO at +8, that fast. So on hit, We bump them, they're staying at the wall, and if we use it on block, it's -1. We just had it set to jabs here. We're gonna delay it, and we get the slam. Just from delaying it, we just have it on continuous jab, and we get the counter hit from a delay. Moving on. Those are all our ducking left or left weave options. So left weave is really the more offensive positioning weave that you will use. I don't think you'll be using it mainly for evasive purposes. It is evasive, but primarily it is for positioning and making sure your opponent does not escape pressure. Ducking right or right weave is the more evasive of the weaves. It has some strong options out of it that will come from evading your opponent and being able to strike back pretty hard. One of the main attractions being right weave 2, pushing them against the wall. We'll go over all the options here. We have the newly added Hawk Swoop combo, parallel with the Bee Sting combo from left weave 1-2. You have the Hawk Swoop combo in right weave 1-2. Automatically transitions in the LionHEART stance, so be careful when you use it. As we went over in the part 2, is a vulnerable stance that you would ideally not want to be in your opponent's face at negative frames with. Can also transition into peekaboo if you do right weave 1 and then hold forward. You will be using this a lot as a Steve player at the wall to keep them there. A strategy that I call bullying is to use left weave 2 forward and right weave 1 forward to keep your opponent against the wall at a very low standing position and provide them with pressure and peppering them with peekaboo down 1, peekaboo down forward 1-1, down forward 1, delay 1, and more right weave 1 and left weave 2 forward in order to provide a multifaceted offense at the wall, further leaning into Steve's wall 50-50. So we have his rocket launcher, foot stomp, 50-50 at the wall. We have his sway 1 and sway 1+2 pressure at the wall if they decide to block at plus frames, so we're +8 here if we hit them, and then peekaboo down 1 is 15 frames and we can just sort of go in with peekaboo pressure. So very, very useful, as this is the more evasive of the weaves and can keep your opponent perfectly positioned to enjoy their stay at the wall, as they will not be leaving anytime soon. Swindler is also cancelable from this move. Giant step forward, where we can use it if we notice the opponent is way too far back. Let's say the opponent backdashes. We can take a giant step forward, close distance, and potentially fish for a counter hit. While Steve's head is back here, it is very useful. Swindler is very good and underutilized, might I add, addition to Steve's arsenal. I do not feel like we are using Swindler correctly, and it will reveal itself throughout the years that Tekken 8 will come. I feel like Swindler is going to be a huge part of Steve's arsenal. Very, very underutilized in Steve gameplay. So all my Steves out there that are new, I implore you to experiment with this move in your arsenal. It will serve you very well in the time to come. Gut drill, one of the main attractions of right weave 2. Very strong move, especially at the, let's go over again, the wall. So this will provide you a wall splat from a pretty decent distance, where we can continue our wall-based offense. We can keep the opponent perfectly peppered and positioned at the wall, and if we get a major read, as in your opponent tries to retaliate and they are a distance from us, or we call it right and they use a right kick and we weave to the right, we are perfectly positioned to counter as we move to the same side that the opponent used. So if the opponent does a right punch and we do a right weave, we are in line for the opponent to whiff, and thus we get the big punish at the wall, and they regret it for the rest of the match. Big damage here. So right weave 2, very useful for wall splats and big damage. Let's go over the frames. It is -13 on block, So if you guess it wrong, I don't know who has a 13 frame launcher in this game besides Kazuya's perfect God Fist, but you will very rarely be punished super heavily for going for this move, especially if your opponent's up the wall. You may get a tap on the wrist. And those are all the options out of right weave stance. We've gone over this pretty quickly. We've gone over sways. We've gone over right weave and left weave. These are very strong options. Sways are mainly used for evading those highs and, you know, and providing a counter response to them. Or you can use them to further assess the opponent, see if they do something. Use it to duck. Normally, if I go for sway, I'm usually looking for a sway 1 or a sway 2. Oh, like if I use sway out here, I'm usually looking for a sway 1 opportunity so I can get a guaranteed heat engager, or I'm looking for a snake charmer. If I'm at the wall, I'm usually using sway in order to wall push you. I'm very, very heavy wall pusher, because even if you break the grab, it's quick enough exchange where it puts us right back into neutral, and I can continue to play fundamental small Tekken with you, even if you break. Sway and weaves are a very integral part of Steve's offense and his wall pressure. You will be using these a lot. Familiarize yourself with these stances, and I think that's everything I wanted to go over. Next stance I'll go over, let's go over the albatross spin next. Why not? The next stance we'll go over will be albatross spin, and I will see you in that video. The albatross spin. Very heavy part of Steve's arsenal. Steve's albatross spin is very good for closing the distance. And that is also the purpose of this stance, is to primarily close distance in some fashion in order to either extend on a combo, to launch in heat, or to poke the opponent. So you can close the distance and poke, you can close the distance and provide pressure. We're gonna go over it all here in this video. All right, so albatross spin, renamed quick spin, can also be used as an escape as well. If the opponent ever has you back turn like this, and Steve's pay attention to this because this is gonna help you greatly. Whenever an opponent has you back turn, always go for albatross spin. Albatross spin from the back turn. Do not try to crouch, as crouching may lead to you getting hop kicked. If you spin, you will not get counter hit. As far as I know, I've never been counter hit out of this. Always guys, albatross spin when you're in back turn. If your opponent's pressuring you from back turn, albatross spin will provide a very good way to escape that pressure, and then you can hit down, back, or whatever option to forward face and get back on pressure. Cyclone punch or albatross spin 2 is a very good pressure tool in this game, and is also a heat engager. So on block, this move is very useful as a poke. Only -3 on block. Those are very good frames, and it puts you at a decent distance once the move is finished. Puts you at about range 2, neutral range 2. Perfect for if an opponent whiffs after trying to catch you when using this move. It can provide an open opportunity for something like back 2. Put you at a pretty good distance at -3. This is an extremely useful poke. This is why I included it in our part 1 video, but I really want to iterate that poking with Cyclone Punch is very good. This move can be linear, so watch it in high level play. You will catch opponents that will sidestep this move for the sake of launching you, so be careful when using it there. But as a poke, you can even mix this up with a sidestep of your own, so you catch your opponent stepping, you can step too. Sidestep Cyclone Punch. If you catch it, it's a heat engager and can then be turned into a launcher if you're already in heat. So if you're already in heat and you're floating around here and you're looking for an opportunity, you do Cyclone Punch, hold forward, boom, you have a launcher. That's crazy. You have a launcher that does crazy damage. This is one of the best ways besides rocket launcher to get a launcher out of heat. So rocket launcher and this move are very good moves when in heat to provide an offensive advantage and launcher with Steve just from poking around. All right, Cyclone knee clip, albatross spin down 2. Very good poke. You can kind of see it coming, but it puts you at an axis. It's very good to mix in with albatross 2. So you're mixing in your mids, and your opponent's probably tired of getting hit mid. So they're gonna try to outspace you. You can mix in albatross down 2 and get some very cheeky damage. Does 17 damage on hit, and it puts you off axis. So even if your opponent were to block and counter respond, it would go off axis and you could even be an advantage here. And it puts you at a pretty decent distance away from an opponent that will respond after getting hit with that low. Very good low and should be utilized in all forms of play. Spin into peekaboo, very useful and underutilized by Steves. This is a very easy way to slip into pressure. The way I use this is if the opponent perhaps just got hit with a combo and I'm providing an Okuzeme and you know they're on the ground, I could do something like you can spin into pressure. Or if the opponent is turtling, an opponent that perhaps doesn't press a lot of buttons, an opponent we're trying to open up, spin into peekaboo, pressure from a distance. We can also, out of albatross spin, do a double spin like this. So by doing albatross spin up or albatross spin down, we can the foreground or the background respectively. And from here we have a couple of options. We have double cyclone spin 1. We have albatross spin up 1. We have albatross spin down 1. So the option to do the attack has changed. So where cyclone punch was albatross 2 and it's a heat engager, the double cyclone punch is not a heat engager. So we lose our ability to heat engage from it, but in exchange we gain enhanced options similar to ducking in, like how ducking transitions into ducking in. We get enhanced options. We get the same thing for our albatross. So it's technically, I guess, like a 10th stance for Steve in a way. So we do double albatross 1 and we get damage. So look, we do albatross spin 2 and it does 22 damage and is a heat engager. That is plus 16 if it's done on a regular hit. We do a double albatross spin 1 and look at that. Instead of doing 22 damage, it does 34 damage and it sends the opponent way further. So if we were to hit them with just albatross spin 2, they go about here. We hit them with double albatross spin 1, they land over there. So they get wall splatted further. In addition to that, it has evasive properties and it also does more damage. Double cyclone down 1, you'll notice instantly the difference or the upgrade that it gets from albatross down 2. So from albatross down 2, you sort of get a knee clipper that used to in Tekken, I believe Tekken Tag 2 and Tekken 6, this move used to knock you down off rip. As soon as you got hit with it, you was going down, face down, feet back, I believe. Now that move is exclusively for the double albatross down 1. So you do double albatross down 1 and you basically get your original albatross down 2 back, and it will provide advantage for the sake of Oki. You can follow up your opponent. You can hit them with a guaranteed down 1+2. We get double spin into peekaboo, double albatross spin forward. Good for some tricky stuff. Peekaboo montage mix up. And that goes over everything I wanted to go over with albatross spin. This was a quick one here, I know. This one hardly has any options, but the purpose of it is clear. It is to close the distance with pokes or pressure. So we'll use poking, albatross spin 2 to potentially get a wall splat. We'll do albatross down 2, low from a distance. This is one of our most useful lows from a distance, so we can potentially close out a match or get our opponent to know that they're not safe at the distance they're at range 3. Or we can do a peekaboo option. We can go into peekaboo if the opponent is not moving, or if we're in an okazeme situation and we're following up, we can sort of do a spin into peekaboo and get some pressure off of them. We can go into double cyclone if we think the opponent is used to our albatross pressure. Perhaps get them to open up or catch them off axis and hit them with an attack. Just remember that the button changes when you go into the double albatross spinning. So I appreciate everybody for coming through and watching. We're gonna go into ducking next. Arguably Steve's most important stance, but you're gonna have to click this video.
Feature the face of a champion!
All right, we have ducking stance. The purpose of ducking is to provide additional pressure for the opponent or for the sake of a moving option in the neutral. Very important for us. We can use ducking to close the distance on an opponent, to sort of play scout, see what the opponent's going to do in tandem with Korean backdashing. Become safe by us crouch canceling it. Very useful tip in Steve's arsenal. We're canceling it by doing down back. Very useful for Steve's combos. Believe it or not, duck and cancel actually used to be essential for Steve's bread and butter back in Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2. Ducking can also be transitioned into sway, but mainly this is the one you want to be in. Ducking is so good, and I'm going to tell you why. You have Fox Hunt or Ducking 1. Very useful mid for scouting out the opponent. Very apropos for its name. Very on the nose. Fox Hunt will hunt out and scout and test an opponent. On block, it's -7, so you're not losing a whole lot of advantage. I mean, it is your opponent's turn, but around -7 is the range where you can sort of play around with it. At 3 frames, the opponent doesn't get anything guaranteed, and you can also still mess around with your opponent, even continue your pressure if your opponent's not aware. On counter hit, this move will launch. It'll get a high wall splat against the wall, and out in the open, we'll get a combo with up back 2. Up back 2 is one of the best routes to do for this. In my rounds, I normally am not up enough for the up back 2. Up back 2 is the most optimal option. However, I tend to default to when I get this move in counter it is a jab, down forward 1-2-1, and then a flicker 1-2 or 1-1-2, and then I'll do up forward 1, and I'll go into sort of like a mix-up situation. But optimally, you will want to have up back 2 primed and ready to go when you get counter hit Fox Hunt, so keep that in mind. Next up, we have Skyscraper. Very important move, Steve's arsenal. This is one of Steve's very limited launching options, and it's one of the good ones too. The move can launch an opponent from a distance. Very good for getting in at an opponent who potentially whips something huge, or if you anticipate a high move or a move that you can duck under, or you sense that you can be able to hit your opponent with the tail end of this move on block, you can catch them. You get a full damaging launch combo. On block, it is -14, so you'll be eating some pretty significant damage at range 1. So at -14, it's not death if you get hit by it. Some characters can launch this, like Brian's Jet Upper, Perfect Electric, some hop kicks. However, you'll rarely get punished for this, even at high level, specifically because of the distance between you and your opponent, which makes this pretty good to poke out with from time to time. Not all the time, but look at that, just out of jab range. So if your opponent's first instinct is to jab after being touched with something on block, you can catch them with something low standing or while standing. So it's very easy to mispunish when an opponent attempts to punish your move on block, but instead whiffs and causes a counter launch situation for you. Next up, we have Punisher. We're gonna get through these quickly. Ducking forward 2. This move is repeatable, and what I mean by that is after you do it, you can sort of hold forward and 3 and keep tapping forward 2 and go back into ducking and then continue with this series. So you can do ducking forward 2, forward 3, and then ducking forward 2, forward 3, ducking forward 2, forward 3, ad infinitum like this. It does provide chip damage, as you can see. This move does really, really good damage on chip. Even not in heat, this does pretty good chip damage, but in heat, Punisher absolutely eats. On block, it's +3, good for continuing an offense, for its ability to shift back into ducking. Our final move in ducking stance is the Gatling gun, which now has been simplified in Tekken 8. Thankfully, because this was a major barrier for me as a Steve player. I actually, fun fact, came into Steve because of Gatling gun. However, this input was a lot more complex in that now it's 1 + 2 4 times, so you just get it very easily. But back pre-Tekken 8, as in Tekken 7, Tekken Tag 2, Tekken 6, this input was actually ducking 1 + 2 and then 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 individually after that initial 1 + 2, making it much harder to hit. Some people like sort of pianoed the buttons if you had stick, or if you played claw style you could sort of tap, but I did not play claw style, so my consistency on landing the full Gatling and thus full damage was very low. It's a lot easier to input in this game. You'll mainly be using this at the wall, or you get a wall splat. You do 2-1 flicker and then ducking and then do the Gatling, and you can get significant damage. So at the wall for Gatling gun, you would use it typically after a flicker transition. So you would cancel flicker into ducking and then do Gatling gun. It does have another use in Tekken 8 in that after a counter hit, down forward 2, the opponent is +8 on regular hit, but after ducking they're +17. Gatling is 16 frames, as we went over in our basics video. So what you can do is you can do down forward 2 ducking, and if you get the counter hit confirmed, you can go into 1 + 2 and get a guaranteed Gatling combo for 42 damage, which at the wall leads to a wall splat. So you can do something like that. All right, now for the extension of ducking in, and probably the one that confuses the most players, is called ducking in stance.
Beat to the face to the champion.
Now for the extension of ducking, and probably the one that confuses the most players, is called ducking in stance. So in addition to ducking, which is forward 3 or forward 4, we have an extension called ducking in, where if you were to hold forward 3 or forward 4 for a second longer, you would enter this extra ducking in stance where Steve makes a noise and then he goes further in and he gains access to a variety of blue spark moves after that, as you may have seen in your online matches with him. The purpose of it is to provide additional pressure by leveling up your initial ducking moves, and the second purpose is gaining access to Steve's new move in Tekken 8 called Two-Face, which is his clinch grab. So I'll show that now. Ducking in gives power moves, or the power prefix, to all of his previous moves that I mentioned, except for Gatling. We have Power Fox Hunt, which is ducking in 1, which levels up the Fox Hunt move. So whereas Fox Hunt on regular hit gives like sort of this stomach ache animation and a fallback, on counter hit It provides a launch opportunity. Power Fox Hunt gives a follow-up. So if we land that, we get a follow-up that does 40 damage. I'm pretty sure we can do something else. Instant Peekaboo down 2. That's the max damage you can get from this, 41 damage. That's a more advanced option. If you just wanted something quick, we can get forward 2 to the Power Fox Hunt. Count hit still provides a combo. Power Skyscraper. All right, so regular Skyscraper, we know this move is -14, puts us at a decent distance. On hit, it launches, and we get a full combo. Power Skyscraper shares the same data on block or on hit. It's upgraded and becomes what's known as a Class 1 launcher, or a launcher that launches the opponent higher than a usual launcher. Every launcher typically has a class, the basic launch level, but certain moves like Lee's down back 4, Howrong's just frame skyrocket, and Power Skyscraper are some examples of some Class 1 launchers. These launchers typically can be followed up with more damage than the average combo, and also more opportunity to get creative with it, since you can do another ducking in and follow up, and it does extra chip damage on block. Power Punisher is another move we get from ducking in. So instead of regular Punisher, forgot to mention that on counter hit, regular Punisher is a combo. So not only can you continue it ad infinitum, also get a counter hit launcher when you do it. Power Punisher will automatically launch them on regular hits, so it does not have to be a counter hit. This is arguably one of the more useful options from ducking in. In Tekken 7, this move was stronger than it is now, technically, because this move in Tekken 7 used to cause a guard break state once you got hit with those blue sparks, -11. So I could do another regular Punisher and you would get hit. Or if I was advanced, I could use a Power Punisher, crouch cancel, and then do Wild Man or While Standing 1-2 and get a combo and be +3. That unfortunately no longer exists, and now we mainly use this for the sake of chip damage, or for searching for a launcher if we believe the opponent's gonna press a button here, or to pressure the opponent. That's everything going over the regular options or the listed options. However, we also have one more that is not in that list there, which is the fact that Steve in Heat gains access to a grab out of Heat called Two-Face. This move is very good. So what can be done, number 5 on his command list, is the Two-Faced grab, an option added to Tekken 8 out of Steve in Heat. So when Steve is glowing purple and in Heat and he's in ducking in stance, 1+3 or 2+4, he can grab the opponent from his ducking in. I'm hitting 2+4 and I'm getting this new grab that I don't normally have access to. So from here, we have 2 options that we can do. So we have Steve's Clinch 1 that does 15 damage, but as you can see in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, provides 14 frames of advantage. So we have a few options we can do as a follow-up. Easy ones being 1-1-2, something like this. Boom, boom. Then maybe go into some punishers. 2-2 does 44 damage. The advanced option, the option that you as Steve should strive towards once you get a bit more seasoned and experienced, is this one. 5 hits. 50 damage is currently what is known to be max damage from Steve's Clinch 1. It is a very frame tight move. After Clinch 1, you would do instant peekaboo, forward 3+4 into the stance, and then forward 1+2, giving you this hook combo, 2-hit high, that actually is 12 frames. So it takes 1 frame to enter peekaboo, then you have about a frame to hit that forward 1+2. So this is a much more complex and difficult link to hit, even from being a veteran Steve player. But the benefits to learning this are great, in that not only do you get 6 more damage than, you know, if you were to just do 2-2, but also at the wall primarily. So if you get this at the wall, you can get a wall splat from it, which is something that the previous 2 options did not grant you. And that can potentially be what closes out the match for you, or at the very least will secure your lead, as that combo does 50 damage by itself. So it essentially turns Two-Face Clinch 1 into a launcher, or a wall splatting launcher in that case. Whenever you get in practice mode, do Clinch 1 and practice linking into instant peekaboo forward 1+2. I'd highly recommend that. Next is the final option and our final stop on our ducking in journey, Clinch 2, a move called Debutante Ball. It's a very damaging grab that does 50 damage on its own, and it does even more at the wall, as you can see. 60 damage at the wall. Those are giant swing levels, folks. So when people say Steve is trash, they are clearly overlooking the benefits that he got here. My man has access to a giant swing in heat, essentially. We have a giant swing in heat, but it does 50 damage in neutral, and it does 60 damage when coming from a wall. Very useful. Steve is dangerous in heat. If you notice, I've been using what I call a flash ducking in. This is called ducking in direct. I call it a flash duck, which is done by doing down forward 3+4 in heat, which used to be his Dempsey roll. Gives us quick access to an instant way to do ducking in. So instead of having to do forward 3 or forward 4 and holding to get ducking in, instantly go into it, and we can gain access to our ducking in moves and our blue spark moves. So we can duck in, do Punisher, do uppercut, duck in, do power fox hook, duck in, and sway. Hell. But mainly it's used for getting us access to our clinch grab and doing a ton of damage. Another thing I want to go into is just stressing the importance of learning how to duck cancel. So you will learn how to duck cancel is from stances. So if you hit like a back 1 or a 1-2-1, try going into ducking. There's a lot of strings that will go into ducking. All the 1-1-2 strings will go into ducking. 1-2 duck, 1-2-1 duck, 1-1-2 duck. Very important. And then everything that transitions into flicker to go into duck. So 2-1 flicker, duck. 1-2-1 flicker, duck. 1-2-1 duck. Down for 1-2-1, duck. Duck canceling should be something that you're automatically aiming for when you're playing Steve. That was a big one, ducking in. Ducking is one of our essential stances. Next up, Peekaboo Stance. Gonna have to click this video first. So go on, go click the video. See you over there. Gotta get through these stances, baby. Welcome back, Steve fans, as we go over another stance in our Steve guide, and we have Peekaboo Stance, inspired by Mike Tyson. Good old Iron Mike himself was a heavy user of the Peekaboo Stance. He wasn't the only one. However, he is the one that made this stance infamous due to his smaller size, and he was able to take full advantage of this. Mike Tyson was not the tallest fighter, nor did he have the longest arm reach in his weight class. So he was advised and trained to take advantage of the opponent's arm reach, so that he may come in with a sort of baby peekaboo stance, like he's peeking through his hands, and he is able to turn the opponent's offense and weave through their punches while providing punches of his own that would usually proceed in knocking the opponent out. The shots were very compact and short, which is what it brings to Steve's arsenal in battle. Peekaboo is a stance that provides pressure at range 0 to 2 with short and compact lows, mids, and highs. Apply heavy pressure that he otherwise wouldn't in his normal stance. In his normal stance, his main lows are down 1, down 2-1, and he has foot stomp, which is very short range. But with Peekaboo stance, we have access to Peekaboo down 1.
Are you talking about those red ones?
Down forward 1-1 or down forward 1. These very compact blows that are able to apply pressure on the opponent and have enough frames on them to confuse the opponent with the threat of a delayable additional hit that, if timed wrong by them, would result in a counter hit launcher for you. Purpose 1, apply pressure mix-up at range 0 to 2 with short compact blows that slowly open up even the most turtling of opponents. Opponent can have a very compact and tight defense, and Peekaboo will slowly be able to open them up with very compact blows. This is a stance I would heavily consider for use against your more turtling opponents, as this stance is equipped with almost everything you could want in a stance that's made to open people up, which is what it was initially made for in the sport of boxing.
There are more of them than I thought.
In addition to applying quick, short, compact pressure, is that he has deadly delayable combinations that reward you when the opponent attempts to intercept and grants a counter hit. These potential counter hit situations and strings allow you to bully the opponent with the threat of having a highly damaging and potentially launching third or fourth string come out, and this causes hesitation frames in the opponent, so they would second guess pressing a button against your pressure. Strings like Peekaboo 1-2, they have a threat of a third damaging hit coming out, where if you jab or if you do any type of movement that is slower, we can get a launcher. Since the second hit is neutral on block, if we do Peekaboo 1-2, it's 0. So if the opponent tries to press, that's 10 frames. But we can come over, because we're mid-attack, and clobber them with a third hit. If we turn our opponent over to punish, we can actually mimic what this would be like in battle. So we have some settings here. We have this first setting to be a fast high attack jab, and the second setting to be the opponent's fastest mid, which is 13 frames. We're just gonna put on the jab for now, just so we can show this. The delayability of Peekaboo's pressure and the rewards that it grants you. He has about 3 strings that he can take advantage of in battle. 1-2. See, every time I do Peekaboo 1-2, the opponent Eddie will counter with a jab as quickly as he can. So if I do 1-2, instant jab. However, if I do 1-2-3, look at that, it results in a launching third mid on counter hit, resulting in full damage, a wall carry where Steve is strongest. We'll go more into those later. He has quite a few of them. How do we get into Peekaboo stance? There's a few ways. We'll go over them slowly here, and I'll put the titles of the moves, of course, the manual way. Full crouch, down forward 1. So if we just hit down forward 1, we'll get a mid. However, if we're crouched like this and we hold down forward and then press the 1 button, it'll result in a quick compact low that'll transition us into Peekaboo stance. This will be a transition that you use heavily as a Steve player, as our lows are pretty limited, and this is one of the ones that can grant you quick damage and put you into a situation where you can potentially counter hit the opponent that will then retaliate after that quick low in order to get their turn back. Very strong way to enter the stance. 1-2-1 forward. Also there's 1-2-1 back to go into flicker. We have 1-2-1 forward, where we can enter Peekaboo stance at -2 on block, which isn't too bad. If the opponent decides to jab you from here, we can use Peekaboo 2, a move that we'll go into a bit later, in order to Subaki or Sabaki parry the opponent. I have a pop-up on Sabaki parrying, where essentially if you use a sabaki move against a specific type of move, usually a jab, then you can clinch the grab and auto parry it, but we'll go into that a bit later. It's 2-1 forward. This allows you to enter the stance at +2. Pretty favorable. And right weave 1 forward. Allow you to bully your way into the stance at -1. Same with left weave 2 forward. So all the transitions in one, we're gonna go through them all in slow-mo. We also have ALBATROSS forward to get us into PEEKABOO Stance as well. What are our options out of PEEKABOO Stance? What can we do once we're in the stance? We have Albion combination, PEEKABOO 1-2-1. A high mid combo, one of the fastest options out of PEEKABOO Stance, with the PEEKABOO 1 coming out at 12 frames. This is your fastest option out of PEEKABOO Stance when you want to reach for a button before your opponent. It's a high mid combo that on the third hit launches on counter hit. This is a popular combination for Steve and one that should be used heavily. Not only is it the fastest, but it introduces the threat of a third option that will counter hit, causing hesitation frames in your opponent. To those that know and to those that do not know, can introduce a launch opportunity. Keep that in mind. Those that know about this will respect these first 2 hits and won't be so hasty about hitting the third one, allowing you to further your mix-up. This is a pinnacle piece of PEEKABOO Stance. Next, we have Spike Hook, PEEKABOO 2. A very important part of Steve's arsenal, as this is a 14 frame tracking high pretty fast. And if you look at the flavor text up at the top, it mentions that it has a punch parry effect as well as it puts you back in PEEKABOO Stance. So we have our tracking move, that's pro number 1, and pro number 2 is that it's 14 frames, which is pretty fast. And the third positive is that it's a punch parry move, or what we call a sabaki parry. A sabaki parry is an offensive move that can be utilized defensively if it predicts the correct move. For instance, if we have the opponent to punish a jab, we're gonna put the opponent down forward 1 whenever they get hit on block. So if we hit them with a PEEKABOO 1-2, we can set them up for this. If they delay and they're not sure what we're gonna do and they go down forward, we can go PEEKABOO 1-2 and then proceed with Spike Hook, PEEKABOO 2, and they would then be sabaki parried, where we can then follow up with a down back 2, a down 1+2, or a back 2. Very strong move out of PEEKABOO. You'll find that the stronger you get as a Steve player, the more often you'll find yourself instantly going into this stance manually, as opposed to awaiting for a transition. Steve is a rather scrappy character who does not have access to the strongest lows, so there's no real reason to respect Steve's lows. He has some of the best highs and some okay lows. So you'll find that a lot of times your opponent will be ducking in front of you. So I found it beneficial to go into manual PEEKABOO a lot more often in my matches, especially after setting up a jab offense. Definitely like and sub this video if I provide any tips that are beneficial to you. Don't forget to drop a like and sub for your boy. Trying to grow the realm out here, Steve brethren. Let's get the realm out to 100 subs. Patella smash. PEEKABOO down 1. Very important move that you'll be using a lot as a Steve player. This is your main pressure low from PEEKABOO Stance that you'll be mixing up with your fast highs. So your PEEKABOO offense to those that are standing, and those whose standing offense you would like to break, you would hit them with Patella smash. If they just insistent on blocking the entire time, we can transition into peekaboo and start working their ankles. At 15 frames, it's pretty low standing. This move will evade jabs. We'll put the opponent on punish. So we'll have the opponent respond with a jab whenever they're hit. So for opponents that respond high, this move will crush their high. It will crush jabs and allow you to continue your offense. This move is 15 frames. It's +2 on hit, making the follow-up one 13 frames. And you also see in the flavor text it referencing full crouch down forward 1 shifting in the peekaboo. As patella smash and full crouch down forward 1 share the same frames. It's a compact low, allows us to continue offense in peekaboo as it automatically shifts back to it, and can essentially cause the opponent to retaliate with a low crushing attack, or will crouch in an attempt to block or parry this move, opening them up for your Argos Rush. So this is the low that opens the standing block opponent up. This is your weapon against opponents who are turtling and who seem to stand block more often than not. 10 count, peekaboo 1+2. It's a 1+2 break grab that provides 45 damage when thrown. This throw is extremely strong and it comes out at 11 frames, as you can see. So this is the strongest throw that we have outside of clinch 2. Extremely strong option, leaves the opponent 90 degrees approximately when the throw is broken. So it's good to just throw out, leaves them at exactly range or about range 2.5 to 3 on break. With that, range 2.5, perfect range for a rocket launcher. 49 damage in rage, extremely strong towards the end of the game and during the middle of the game for chipping away health. 45 damage is pretty significant. So pro number 1, the damage, it's extremely strong. Pro number 2 is the break range. Leaves the opponent at range 2.5 and about 90 degrees, so it's good for getting out of a situation. Like for example, if you're in the corner, it could be beneficial to just throw out 10 count. We set up a situation where we're at the wall and we're trying to gain our offense back. We're jabbing. Yeah, that tracks both sides. And we're trying to get out the corner. A jab, a sidestep block, an attempt to grab. And already we are at advantage position wise. So we can keep the advantage and the pressure just by doing a simple jab and grab. Very strong. And the third is that it gives a mix-up option, being predictable and just throwing constant 1-2s to set up your spite hook. We can mix that up with a grab that they have to stay awake for, so they just can't autopilot duck or autopilot block our offense until we're finished. We give them something else to worry about. Argos Rush, peekaboo down forward 1-1-2 is a mid string for peekaboo, where if the opponent tries to respond in between the string, it will become fully natural. The string is not natural on hit. You can see only 2 hits are natural. The benefits of this string is that peekaboo down forward 1 and down forward 1-1 are arguably some of the strongest mids out of this stance. With peekaboo down forward 1 coming out at 15 frames, it's not too fast. However, it's our fastest mid option out of the string to mix up with our high offense to discourage the opponent from crouching. So far with peekaboo 1-2 and peekaboo 2, they're both high. And the grab, the 10 count grab, is also high. Peekaboo down forward 1 is delayable in nature, so it can catch the opponent slipping or catch the opponent trying to press a button. Peekaboo down forward 1-1 is really strong to mix up with peekaboo down 1 and peekaboo 1-2. As well as peekaboo forward 1+2. The strength in Argos Rush is in its delayability. This move is extremely delayable in all links of the chain. We can delay and do down forward 1-1. See, down forward 1, 1, we can press that extremely late. So with just those two alone, if we set the opponent to punish, just like a real scenario, if we did not know when the opponent was going to try to get us out of this, we'll have the opponent block the first hit and then retaliate with the jab. So down forward 1, they jab, right? So down forward 1, 1, they get hit. Counter due to the move's delayability. So we're trying to fish for a counter hit. Our opponent is very patient. We don't know when they're gonna press a button. They respond with a jab, we can respond with that. We're not sure, we delay that. And the second they get counter hit with the second mid, then the entire string is guaranteed. So if we're poking, peekaboo down for 1, we get the opponent pressing button on counter hit. You see the counter hit in the window on the bottom left hand corner. You get that second hit counter hit, the whole string goes through and it does 48 damage. Not only that, we get a guaranteed down back 2, resulting in an additional 16 damage. And it also grants a guaranteed down 1+2, giving you 60 damage. Lancaster combination. Peekaboo, back 1, 1, 2, 1. Mid, high, mid, mid string. And if you hold back on the last mid, it will transition into flicker stance. That is one benefit of this move, is that this is one of the only ways of note to go between peekaboo and flicker stance directly. If you want to go from flicker to peekaboo, you do something like flicker 1 and spin into peekaboo. The second high, or the place where you can duck this move, is the second attack. So this one is a lot tougher to counterplay. If your opponent is aware of Steve's strings, they'll have to duck that second high pretty fast. If they try to duck the third hit, then the last hit is guaranteed and it'll send them to the wall. So this string is pretty useful at the wall when you don't know if your opponent's going to press a button. If the last 2 hits, then there'll be wall splat and we're granted with a wall combo. If they block the last 2 hits, then we are in flicker on only -3 and we are safe, as flicker stance will auto block highs and mids for us, one of the benefits of this stance. So benefit number 1, Lancaster combination, or peekaboo back 1, 1, 2, 1 is one of the only ways to transition from peekaboo to flicker stance, where it is essentially our safe string or our safe stance. If the second hit is a counter hit, or if any part of the string is a counter hit, then all 3 are guaranteed and will wall splat the opponent, resulting in a full wall combo. This is a great move. When you're in heat, an advantage of peekaboo is that we can actually use our heat smash from peekaboo. Remember this. So we can do our heat smash from neutral stance, and we can also do it from peekaboo. Nimrod combination. Peekaboo forward 1+2. Comes out very fast. This move is just as fast as peekaboo 1, 2. Peekaboo 1, 2 and peekaboo forward 1+2 share the same startup frames. However, the advantage of the Nimrod combo is that not only is it the fastest speed out of peekaboo, it also gives a wall splat on hit. So consider using this move over peekaboo 1, 2 when you're at the wall, or at least altering with it. So if we have the opponent at the wall, if we are poking and we get a guess and we hit peekaboo 1, 2, we would have been more rewarded had we hit peekaboo forward 1+2, which is the same frames, but if we hit it, we're granted with a combo. Another benefit of this move that it also jails on block. They're gonna put them on stand block, and then as soon as they hit, they're gonna crouch. See? If we hit the opponent with the move that does not link, they will duck the strength. So we do forward 1+2. They do not duck the first one because they can't. This move jails on block. So not only is it the fastest move out of Peekaboo, and it's only -5 on block. So it's good to just throw out. Pro number 3, and arguably the best pro, is that it wall splats on hit, resulting in a very strong threat of a combo when you're in Peekaboo and the opponent is against the wall. Nimrod combination, very strong. Wall splats from a decent distance. That is a decent distance. Cutting elbow, Peekaboo down forward 2. A move that I should be using more often. This move is a launcher out of Peekaboo, -10 on block, so it is punishable by jab. However, unless your opponent's really on it, or unless they see this move a lot, I doubt you'll be getting punished for it. Very compact launcher, where Steve launches you with his elbow, allowing for a full combo. This move is 16 frames, making it probably our fastest launcher that we have. I'm not kidding. However, this one is out of stance. We have moves like Dreadnought Uppercut, but yeah, this one is pretty fast. A benefit of this launcher is that it is non-parryable, as it is an elbow and not a fist. So characters with punch parries or sabaki parries would not be able to parry this one. I believe Leroy can still parry it. Straight punch combination. Peekaboo forward 2-1. It is a mid string, where the first mid comes out at 18 frames. I'm gonna run that in slow-mo. Pro number 1 of this combo is this initial 2 move, this low hook. This hook, like Peekaboo down 1, evades jabs. So that's 2 moves that we have in Peekaboo that evade jab. It's Peekaboo down 1 and Peekaboo forward 2. And then Peekaboo 1-2, they respond with the jab. They get hit with Peekaboo forward 2 in response to their jab. Poetry in motion. It's also a pretty good wall ender. When you hit Peekaboo forward 2 and then cancel the Peekaboo, you have enough time to Sonic Fang and it will combo. And because Sonic Fang is a heat engager, if you're an advanced Steve or you're looking to challenge yourself a bit, you can actually create a launch opportunity out of Peekaboo forward 2. Here's an example. So yes, in heat we can turn Sonic Fang into a heat dash, and then we can actually turn that heat dash into a launcher when we dash forward, and we can continue the combo. This may very well be what makes or breaks the round for you. Knuckle Plow, Peekaboo down 2. This is another move for breaking down standing opponents that are hesitant to crouch and block. This is a strong move that can make them reconsider. This is a 28 frame startup move out of Peekaboo. Pretty slow, but it's a stronger low, +7 on hit, and will leave you in a crouch state. Continue your offense pretty much unhindered. On block, -12, so you won't get launched for it. It's pretty decent, so it's +7 on hit, leaves you crouched, so it allows you to mix up while standing. It's only -12 on block, so you may get hit with like a while standing 4 or something. On counter hit, this move will launch, resulting in further wall push, where we can push Steve's agenda. Pretty damaging counter hit launcher, and it's one of our only launching counter hit lows that we have. In fact, I think it may be our only launching counter hit low. I use this one quite a bit out of manual. So I'll be fighting an opponent, you may catch me manually go into Peekaboo and double up on a knuckle plow low in an attempt to counter hit launch the opponent. This move will also counter high, so if I think the opponent's gonna attack high as well, throw this move out safely crouch under it and potentially get a launch opportunity out of that. Next move is cross cut. Peekaboo down forward 1-2. This move in Tekken 7 used to screw or put the opponent in a screw state where we can continue a combo. In Tekken 8, where we have the tornado system, this move no longer does this. So to compensate, they allowed this move to have additional chip on block. So the significance of this move has been reduced. It is duckable, it does not jail, it's a mid-high string. It takes us out of Peekaboo Stance, leaves us -6 for some reason. I feel like this should be neutral on block. I have no idea why after this move lost its screw state that it is still -6 and duckable. So I do not use this move often. However, it is an option if you just want to get out of Peekaboo Stance. That is a pro of it. It allows you to exit the stance while not being too negative on block, even though the move is duckable. See, the opponent can duck this. This is not jail on block.
Too slow.
Your opponent can duck and pretty much launch you, especially in an offense-friendly game like T8. Alright. Swaying hook, Peekaboo back 2. This is a mini backswing blow that is mid, where Steve takes a step back and he swings at the opponent mid. This move is good for evading certain attacks if you're in Peekaboo and you think the opponent will retaliate out of what you've just done. The step back will evade the retaliation and then slam them backwards, which can result in a wall splat at the wall. On block, this move is -13, so it is a bit more punishable, but it won't kill you. Backswing blow that wall splats, grants a full combo at the wall. Pretty good for that. On block, -13. Good for creating some openings, or if you want to get out of Peekaboo and you're not sure what to do, or you have the opponent at the wall and you think they're going to retaliate. Dreadnought uppercut. Peekaboo up forward 2. This is another launcher out of Peekaboo, and this is a strong one. Dreadnought uppercut, also referred to as the Shoryuken, is a 17 frame mid that low crushes as it does a hop, and also high crushes at the same time. On block, -15, so it is launch punishable. Definitely want to watch where you throw this out. However, the benefits is that it both high crushes and low crushes at the same time. However, the move is launch punishable, so maybe not completely viable at highest level of play, but if the opponent has shown they don't punish it, or worse, you're playing another Steve player, Steve cannot punish this move. Steve cannot launch you for this move. This is a strong move in the Steve matchup. The most you'll eat is perhaps a forward 1+2/2 or a sonic frame into heat engager. So this is a strong move in the Steve matchup, as Steve cannot launch you forward. Pretty strong launcher, does pretty good damage, very evasive. And that's it. A lot of short and compact attacks that annoy the opponent and cause them to take some type of action, as he is in a low standing position in your face. He has a lot of deadly delayable combinations that reward you when the opponent attempts to intercept and grants you a counter hit most of the time. I appreciate everybody for coming through and watching. Remember your Peekaboo against high level opponents will annoy them. You are deadly delayable in this stance. Please optimize and use it against those that hurdle, and use it to break down their offense. Do not be afraid to manually enter the stance. Steve's strength is in his delayability, so the ability to transition unpredictably into Peekaboo Stance is very strong and can provide an unpredictable offense to even those that know the character. This will be what sets you apart from other Steves, is your ability to transition seamlessly into Steve stances and the ability to fully utilize his toolkit to its full effect. Next up, we have Flicker Stance. I look forward to seeing you on our final journey of our Steve Stance deep dive, and in our future videos where we go into the more advanced and nuanced facets about Steve. I'll see you then. Drop a like and sub on the video, and I'll see you in the next guide. Live powerful. Welcome everybody to the final stance in our Steve Stance guide, other than the LionHEART 2.0 video I have coming up, is the flicker stance, aka the Philly shell right here. It was developed for the sake of counter punching. This is a stance that was created to use the rear hand as a load up. We would drop our jab hand from our face to our body, move it back and forth, allowing us to extend it out at any time unpredictably. So we would use the jab hand and we would sort of do a snap punch with it. So your arm is kind of used as a whip or a flicker, as it takes flick-like jabs at the opponent very fast. We get 12 frame jabs out of this. Then you would load up the backhand for whenever your opponent decided to approach, and you would smack them with a strong loaded up counter punch that would knock them out. As for practitioners of this, we have two very prominent ones. We have Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Thomas the Hitman Hearn was known for having a very strong flicker jab that he would use to hold in place, and he would use the rear hand to strike. So he would flick at you and do something called the lazy jab, where he would do a flicker jab, but he would have the punch retrieve back as slow as possible. It would obfuscate your vision so that the strong right cross was right around the corner. He took many a championship and title with this move. Another prominent practitioner we have is one you know and may hate or love depending on your view or perspective, but nonetheless, Floyd the Money Mayweather Jr. is an infamous practitioner of the flicker stance. He would use flicker stance to dance around his opponent, defend himself against his opponent's strong offense by using a reverse step, along with the Philadelphia shell, and make it his own technique, where he was able to win his matches very, very efficiently. One of the weaknesses of this stance in boxing, and the way it translates to Steve, is that when you are in Philly shell stance, it limits your offense, as your hand that you're using to load up is unable to participate in combination blows in an effective way where you can go back and forth in a rhythm, kind of like 1, 2, 3. Is unable to do 1, 2, 3 because the backhand is loaded waiting for a counter hit. Like I said, this is a counter punching stance. This stance has a utility. Okay. Steve can use flicker jabs and cancel them at a variety of places. His Flicker 1 series has both a high and a mid extension respectively. So he does a lot of the combos with one hand. So we have high, 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 all done with one. And then even the mid and the extender high that he does with Flicker 1 down 1 is all done with one hand, while the right hand is steady guarding Steve's face. But what he does have is the strong counter punch in Flicker back 2. We'll get into that a bit later. How do we get into flicker stance? There's a variety of ways that Steve can get into flicker stance. We have back 1. Back 1 will be a flicker transition that you use very, very frequently. Flicker stance, like the flavor test says, can be shifted into ducking stance, left weave, right weave, or sway. So your 3, your 4 button, and your back 3 and back 4 and forward 3 and forward 4 are all accessible from flicker stance. Transition from flicker to duck. This is a stance cancel that you will need to master as a Steve player, going from flicker to ducking. I have an advanced Steve guide coming out where we'll be talking about transitions between stances a lot more often. We have 1 down 1, 1 to 1, back. So all the flicker transitions are done by holding the back button as you do the move that will transition. So when you hold back, it'll transition you to the stance. So back 1, back is how you enter flicker. The purpose of flicker stance with Steve is to make a lot of his moves safer. So you'll find that a lot of his moves that have flicker stance extensions will make his strings more safe than they're supposed to be, or than they would be had he not done it. For instance, we'll use back 1 as an example. If I just do back 1 raw with no flicker transition, it is -14. So yeah, if we set it there and I just do back 1, that says punish. So I get punished by king's down forward 1 right here. But if I just canceled it with back, if you look at the frame data, we'll get a zoom in on that. It says -1. So it shaves a total of 13 frames off of the recovery when we cancel in the flicker. That is so significant that we cannot ignore. And the benefit of flicker stance is that it has an auto block feature. All flicker stance transitions have an auto block of mid and high attacks. So any mid or high attack, flicker will auto guard it despite if you are holding the back button. For instance, I'm doing back 1 and I'm holding back so that it transitions into flicker stance. However, I let go. As you can see right here, I'm holding back after I hold flicker. You can see in the direction, I'm gonna zoom in on it. But right here, I don't hold back. I let king hit me and it still goes through. 1 to 1 is a transition you'll be using a lot. Without transition is -3. 1 to 1 with transition is -1. We got 1 down 1, a high mid string. Very good for clutching out games when your opponent is expecting a high series or they're not expecting a mid. So 1 down 1 is a very strong transition to get you in the flicker stance very fast, and it is neutral on block. So you can set a bulldog or a masher up for a counter punch here. So if you know your opponent is about to mash a button, you notice that down 1 will hit them. So if the opponent is just mashing whatever, that 1 down 1 is very good. 1 down 1 and 1 down 1 are very good series for catching mashers. Remember and ponder this well. It's +11 on counter hit. So if you catch an opponent that matches after this string, after 1 down 1, they will get hit with 11 frames counter hit. So we get an uninterrupted flicker 1 or a grab attempt, which is 12 frames. We'll get into the grab a little bit later. Rocket launcher. Let's go over all the neutral stance ones. Rocket launcher without flicker stance transition is punishable at -10. Rocket launcher, boom, punish, right? Rocket launcher with flicker stance transition is -3. It shaves 7 frames off. So the amount of frames that it will shave off of each move is unique to the individual move. However, the general rule of thumb is that it will make it safe, period. The rocket launcher, a 16 frame heat engager already, is made safe. Quarter circle forward 1, back. Very good transition, and one that you'd be using quite a bit at the wall and in neutral. PEEKABOO has a flicker stance transition as well. If you just came over from our PEEKABOO video, or you're watching this in one long series, which I hope you are, by the way, and you should, you'll remember that I said PEEKABOO back 1-1-2-1 is one of the only ways to go from PEEKABOO stance to flicker stance. So we'll be bringing that back as well. It is a mid-high, mid-mid string that when hit at any part of the second, third, or fourth string on counter hit will wall splat. and it is a safe string because it goes into flicker stance. It is very tricky to duck the second string. You have to be very fast. It puts us at -3. So our turn isn't even completely over. We can still, at -3, do a sway and prevent a counter hit attempt. Do a sway left or a sway right. We can duck, all at -3. That's peekaboo back 1-1-2-1. If we don't transition, it's -10 and punishable, just like rocket launcher. We have 2-1 back. If we don't transition, we'll be -5. But if we do the flicker stance transition, we'll be +3 on block. Very useful. Plus the range on it is insane. 2.3, this is hitting. Regular 1 jab is not hitting from 2.3. But 2 jab is. So 2 jab is definitely longer range than 1 jab. I'm sure that's visually obvious. So definitely use them interchangeably. 4-2-1 back. That's something I forgot to go over in my peekaboo video. 4-2-1 forward is a way to get into peekaboo at neutral stance. It's a mid-high string that goes into peekaboo and into flicker. 4-2-1 forward is for peekaboo and goes in neutral on block. 4-2-1 back is +1 on block. It is very delayable. It's very delayable. And it has a mix-up with LionHEART. Now that LionHEART is cancelable, you can mix it up with a double mid or a mid-high. Granted, if you cancel the forward 2-2, you are -10. But if you go into LionHEART stance, you're -6, but you also cannot block in the stance. Keep this in mind. That's pretty good. Left weave, forward 1-1-1-B. If you don't do the transition, it's +3 as it ends in a high. It's a mid-high string, so beware of it in high level play. It is duckable if the opponent sees it or is familiar with the matchup. I've seen a lot of Steves get cracked with this, including myself. If you do the transition, it ends in +4. Very good phrase for us. Oh yes, down forward 1-2-1. I actually forgot about that one. This is probably the one you're going to be using the most, as this is the one you use for your combos. It's neutral on block. It's a mid-high string that does a fake out hook, down forward 1-2, and then to mix that up, he has down forward 1-2-1 to mix up the timing. This is a counter hit launcher, and it is also neutral on block. Alright, and that's all the ways to get into the stance. We're going to run them all in slow motion. Drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy what you're seeing. I appreciate you for watching. Your viewership is good enough for me, but I want to keep providing that value for you. So drop a like and sub. Percentage will be much higher that I'll be able to provide more service for you, just like I did for you now in the future. Hitting that subscribe button could be really beneficial for you in developing your skills, but I'll definitely be providing that Steve value for sure. So drop a like and follow for me. I really appreciate it.
Peace to the gods!
we have Spiteful Combination, or the Flicker Stance 1 series. We're gonna go over all this in one go, since in Tekken 8 they decided to simplify the move list and add a lot of things to the flavor text. So we're gonna be breaking this one down. This has a wide variety of uses. This string has several ways that it can go. So first of all, let's explain the basics of Flicker 1. Flicker 1 is a series that can be used up to a rapid 3 times, 3 whip-like attacks. The first one being 12 frames and all follow-ups being 15 frames. Just doing Flicker Stance 1 is 12 frames and it's -1 on block. Doing it twice is -4. And doing it 3 times on block is also -4. If you choose not to hold back after this Flicker 1, you will transition into neutral stance, as you can see. But if you do Flicker 1 and hold back, or do any amount of flickers and hold back out of the 1 series, you will remain in Flicker. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to mess with your timing with certain attacks. So if the opponent thinks that you're gonna continue but you actually end, you can do something like Flicker 1 twice and really stagger your ones or your approach so they don't know when to attack. This plays heavily into Steve's delay ability and Steve's general game plan with PEEKABOO, and it complements it lovely. Now also from the Flicker 1 series, we have a total of 2 extensions. You do 1 down 1, neutral on block. 1 down 1, neutral on block. If you decide to do all 3 flicker hits, you will no longer be able to do Flicker up 1 or Flicker 1 forward 1, the extensions, and be -9. Tempest combo. Flicker 1, forward 1. This is a high mid extension where the extension is 15 frames, just like the high extension, so they're actually the same frames, which is surprising me because I thought the high was faster. It's a pretty intensive deep dive. So yes, Flicker 1 forward 1 and 1 forward 1, both being -5 extensions. It's neutral on hit, and on counter hit, cause a face down, feet away, or a guaranteed follow. Flicker 1 down 1, safe on block. On hit, it will make the opponent spin, and it will be +18. They will spin back. So unless you're at the wall, you will not get anything for this. This will wall splat on regular hit. Staggering your timing on Flicker 1 down 1 can wall splat the opponent and net you quite a bit of damage. So you can do something like this. Delay. Just to have a very simple combo. Very good, and you can also do 1 down 1, and as you can see, it wall splats on regular standing hit from quite a generous distance. On counter hit, this move was nerfed from its previous iterations. Power hook combo used to grant a full combo, but now in Tekken 8, this has been changed, probably because Steve got a lot of other tools.
There was a time when we were much more powerful.
But now it will spin the opponent out and cause them to be face up, feet away, and we can run up, get a guaranteed dash albatross down to you, guaranteed 40 damage. You can also mix this up with instant duck 2 if the opponent is deciding to stay there. So you do Flicker 1, delay down 1, instant duck 2, and if they decide to wake up kick because they thought if you weren't going to do anything, they'll get smacked. If they decide to lay there, it's good for us, because guess what? I don't need you to stand up to hit you, but you can stay there all you want, because it hits you grounded and will flip you over. Something I gotta use more often. We also have the ender of this series, Flicker 1-2. This is also a high mid series, so we can do Flicker 1-2. We can do Flicker 1-1-2, and we can do Flicker 1-1-1-2. So if we do the whole Flicker 1-1-1 series, the only extender that we can do after the 3rd Flicker jab is Flicker 2. The Flicker 1-2 series is -12 on block at all strings of the chain. This move was changed in Tekken 8 if you're a veteran Steve player coming from previous iterations of Tekken. you may notice this actually used to end in the fly swat, flicker 2. So this used to be flicker 1, 1, 1, 2. Didn't used to be an uppercut. It used to be a swat down. The opponent would actually be in this scenario, face down, feet away. So now that we got it as an uppercut, it's a lot safer, because I think before it was like -14 if you did it, but now it's -12, a lot safer. But still, you hardly want to be using this unless you're using it to combo the opponent, like so. We can do something like this and get a tornado, or you can use it as an ender, like so. It'll knock them a decent distance back for a very nice wall spike. Oh man, here's another one. I was about to skip over the best part about the Flicker 1 series. Flicker 1, at any point in the series, at their Flicker 1, Flicker 1-1, or Flicker 1-1-1, if we hold the back button and then we press 3+4, we can gain access to quick spin, or our albatross spin transition. This is huger than a lot of Steve players think. Let me tell you what. Because we can do this at any point in the series, if you go back and watch our albatross video, you'll remember that I said Steve's turn punch, or Steve's albatross 2, is very good. One, because it's a heat engager and it's safe. It's a mid-safe heat engager that is only -3 on block. And we can use our Flicker 1 as sort of like a guided missile, just like Thomas Hearns uses it, to land that albatross 2. So Thomas Hearns would use the flicker jab to obfuscate his loaded right punch, but instead of using the loaded right punch, we can use it and load up a turn punch and catch an opponent ducking either at the wall or in neutral ground. I've caught both, and land a heat engager if we're not in heat, a heat dash if we are in heat, leading to a safe combo, or a wall splat. This move is incredible. This is probably our most useful move out of Flicker Stance, for the sake that if you're an awakened Steve, you can instantly transition into this. We're gonna go over that in our advanced how to awaken Steve video, is instantly transitioning into Flicker 1 and then using it as a guided missile to do your albatross spin 2. Now, once you have your opponent conditioned for that, that's just layer 1 of the mix-up. Once they're conditioned to take this albatross spin 2, because you've been setting it up so well with Flicker 1, that's where all the fun happens. If your opponent starts blocking this and you notice your opponent's not getting hit with that heat engager / heat dash, we can do spin into neutral. Not a lot of Steves use this. +17 spin. We're spending a lot of those frames spinning. It says we're +17, so if your opponent is attacking, you're gonna want to let this rip. So 1-1-2, the opponent is set to jab. This is a jab trap. If you got an opponent that's mashing, this is perfect for it. Perfect opportunity to hit him with a heat engager, just like this. And once they stop blocking, that's when the party starts, because then we can do Flicker 1 into spin and get into neutral and start mix-ups. So the timing is this: we do Flicker 1, we're holding back as we do Flicker 1, and then we hold 3+4. I heard a lot of Steve players have trouble with this transition here, so I'm gonna take this section of the video to explain it. So Flicker Stance 1, if you hold back and do Flicker Stance 1, you'll go back into Flicker like I said. But if you do this and hold back, it primes Steve, where if you press 3+4 and you're bringing your hand back from the Flicker, you're at a state where you can do albatross spin. Because if you're in regular Flicker Stance, you cannot do albatross spin until you do Flicker 1. Once they are not blocking, we can go into Flicker 1 back foot stomp. I would advise doing moves that crush. Like, you can do foot stomp, armor, albatross down when you get a quick low in there. That's another thing. This move is so useful. So we have a mid mix-up for catching opponents that's attacking or ducking, and then if they're just standing there like this, we can start to break them and be +1 with like a 1 back 3+4 down 2, like a 1 back 1 with the timing staggered, like a 1 albatross double spin. This move has so many branches that you can go with. Use this a lot. Use flicker 1 a lot. Flicker 1 into albatross spin is the gator. Alright, that's something you can use if you're playing small Tekken as well. We can use flicker as a movement tool. We can use the reverse step that's built into flicker to mix up the opponent as well in the neutral. So if we're playing with the opponent like this and we're trying to shimmy step them and doing dash blocks and all that, we can actually use flicker stance as a reverse step in order to load up our rear hand for if the opponent comes in for either a back 2, a poking flicker 1, or fly swatting. This is flicker stance 2. This is one that you'll see a lot of Steves that are high level go into instantly, and that's because of its properties on hit. As you can see, it's a mid from flicker that will put your opponent face down, feet away for good Oki on hit. On block, it is -5. I think it leaves the opponent crouching as well. So anything they respond with is from crouching. Yep, it leaves them crouching on block. So if you use it, they only have the option to respond with a while standing move. That's why this move is so good. This move has 18 to 19 frame startup, and on block it is -5, but it leaves the opponent while standing, so their responses are limited as well as you are safe. It takes us out of flicker stance. On hit, leaves them in a fantastic position for Okizeme with guaranteed follow-ups. We can hit down 1+2 to follow this up, and it's guaranteed. And on counter hit, it is a full combo. You see why Steve uses it so often now, right? This move does chip damage on block as well. So not only is it -5 on block, put the opponent in great Oki on hit and a counter hit launcher, it also chips on block. This move is one of the best moves that we have, period, let alone in flicker stance. If you're an awakened Steve, you will be using this quite frequently from instant flicker stance. This is a pinnacle piece of flicker stance. Next attack, we have the throw. Griffin throw, aka the over the shoulder throw. Flicker stance 1+2. This is a 12 frame grab that is broken with 1+2 that will side switch whatever side you're on. The throw does 40 damage, above average throw damage, as regular throws do 35. The opponent will break right in front of you and you'll be at -6. So this does put you at the fringe edge of a potential sidestep, as normally you want 4 to 7 frames free for a sidestep. So at -6, our options are limited. We can go for a dick jab if we think the opponent's gonna respond high. Go for like a low jab. If the throw break, it puts them at range 1 perfectly right after the throw break. We're right in range for a 1-2-1. If the opponent is slow on the uptake, this would be your best option, would be 1-2-1 or a down 1. Great throw and a great way to alternate your pressure from flicker. British Lancer, big one. Flicker back 2. This is the loaded back punch from Thomas Hearns that we mentioned. This is the big payoff counter blow from Flicker Stance that takes advantage of Flicker Stance's safe nature and gives us a loaded counter punch that will eat and absorb attacks and plow through the opponent, causing a knockdown situation that provides guaranteed damage. On lock, this move is -9. It is safe armor move that also screws. On hit, this move is a knockdown, legs up, does not get a combo, but it does get guaranteed damage. We get 40 damage for the forward 2 beatdown follow-up, and we get 38 for the turn punch. This move also screws, like I mentioned. Mid combo like so. Very good at the wall. And that's it. Those are all the moves. Flicker Stance is pretty quick. This stance does not have a whole lot of moves. It has a lot of variation and a lot of branching possibility, which is what Steve's Flicker Stance is all about. So with that, it does bring us to the conclusion of not only our Flicker video, but our stance videos as a whole. We will be doing a revision on LionHEART 2.0. We'll be revisiting that as a patch 105. That is the next stance that we're gonna do. So definitely drop a like and sub in the chat. Steve brethren, we're gonna get the realm up to 100, and then 1,000, and then 100,000 subs. Come join me on the journey of mastering Steve Fox and becoming a top Steve Fox player. That's going to be a journey. Flicker Stance is extremely useful. Flicker Stance in general, if I had to conclude it, is a very strong transition for making a lot of your strings safe. It makes a lot of Steve's best counter hit and delayable strings safe and able to load up on a armored counter hit as a result of that safeness. So you can choose to be safe or choose to take an offensive option, and if the option is mid or high from your opponent, steal your turn back with an armored counter hit. Does a lot of combos with one hand, as the backhand is more or less saved for a strong armored blow or for a mid hammer attack. And Fly Swatter, that is fantastic on hit and should be used at all iterations of play, especially footsies. When you're playing with Steve, Fly Swatter or Flicker 2 is one of our best mids that we have. Conclusion, Flicker is great. You use it quite a bit. You're going to be using it a lot to continue combos. Use it to duck. Get very familiar with the timing of ducking Flicker Stance. So the second that your hand drops, you are able to transition into other stances. So Flicker Stance is also used as kind of an interim stance, if you will. So this is a stance you'll use to go into other stances. This is kind of like our hub world stance. From the Flicker 1 series, we can go into Albatross spin. From just Flicker, we can go into sway. We can most importantly go into duck from Flicker. So we can make a lot of stances very safe, or we can do unpredictable offense from Flicker. We can do duck, and then of course we can cancel duck. So we're doing a Flicker cancel into duck, duck canceling, ducking stance. So there's two cancels that are happening here. So the ability to duck cancel from Flicker will be of great use to you, as you will be able to continue your combos. Flicker Stance is the only way this combo is possible. Because we go into Flicker Stance from down forward 1-2-1, we can duck right after, and we can do while standing 1 to continue this combo. Alright, here's an example of our back 1 combo using Flicker Stance. I'm gonna play it in slow motion for you. That's the advanced wall carry combo. If you're finding the timing tricky, as soon as the attack hits, as soon as you feel confirmation that your hook from the down forward 1-2-1 hit, you can duck instantly and then hold down back to cancel the duck like this. I want to appreciate you all for joining me in this deep dive on Steve's stances. We have an advanced Steve guide coming up where we go into more of the nuances of all of Steve's stances. The next video will be the LionHEART 2.0, but after that we will be diving into an advanced Steve guide where we put everything together and formulate a winning strategy for taking Steve online and winning matches mathematically. So I definitely look forward to going through that with you, Steve brothers. I appreciate you all for watching. Live powerful, invest 10%, and I'll see you in the next video.